What's up, locals? Well, we are here today, kind of a special treat. There's been a lot of hype building over the last couple weeks, and super excited to be joined today by Kevin Farley. Kevin, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on Local Disc Golf.
Thanks so much for having me, Ryan. This is awesome.
Really appreciate it. So, you piqued my interest a couple weeks ago, I guess now, on a
Yep.
Facebook post attached to Scott Stokely, and there was these visuals of what looked like the silhouette of a disc golfer, like in a city park, and it was, I don't know, the way you announced it had me very curious. So I kind of reached out, and we ended up having a phenomenal chat, which we should have recorded, and
Yep.
now we are here, and so obviously this announcement's going to be it'll be coming out, I think, tomorrow. People will probably be
It is.
watching
Yep.
this video after that. Um,
Yep.
but what can you tell us about like where this came from and what inspired this?
So I've been designing for a bunch of years now, and I keep coming up against kind of the same growth problems that our sport has been facing. Two things that I always refer to. One of them is um, disc golf seems to I want to use the word require, but I put a more recent post up and got lots of feedback about, well, disc golf doesn't require me to introduce people to it, but I use the word require lightly. But I feel like disc golf, for new players, they need to be introduced to the sport by somebody who already plays. It's not easy for the average person to just show up at a course and understand what to do. Walk up to the first tee with a disc and, well, what now? So without that, friendly disc golfer, which has been part of the allure of the game. Part of my love of it is how friendly and what a great community we've got. But it's still, with the explosion over during COVID and stuff, a lot of people started to take interest in this sport, and you did get a lot more people out. But I still feel like we could be growing a lot faster than we are today. So one of those things is I think there's a bottleneck around needing players to introduce new people to the sport. So I've been trying to come up with ways to speed that up. The other big problem that we have, and this relates to what you saw in the silhouette pictures that I've been using, is um, disc golf is, by its nature, it has a big footprint. You're even a 9-hole recreational course is looking at 10 acres, and up, and then they just get bigger from there. Trying to fit disc golf into cities, cities are these large monsters that have been around for decades, potentially hundreds of years. They build their parks and then they build around them, and then there's no more space to expand. So the idea of finding space for a 10-acre disc golf park, or you know anywhere that you can play in the city is super difficult. So space is one of the other really big factors that slows down the growth of the game, because if most of the population that we're trying to attract are in cities, and these days a lot of those people either don't drive or have to take public transit out to things that they want to go try out. Getting out of the city is not the easiest thing. So
Mhm.
we can't get disc golf in front of these populations unless, by some miracle, the city comes up with some, land that we're able to use. Uh, you know, what I see, particularly down in Toronto, another designer friend down there who has been able to get it onto golf courses in the wintertime, but there's still temporary solutions. It's not a permanent way to get disc golf into where the people are. So those two problems have really, been important to me to try and solve. And so that's why we've come up with the Disc Golf Discovery Zone. And so the Disc Golf Discovery Zone is something that doesn't just shrink a disc golf course down. And this is where we start to tie in the relationship with Scott Stokely, is it can't just be a small course in a city. We've seen that done, a few times, but the problem there is you start to get your UDisc reviews, people saying, it's just a small short course. It's not very interesting. I'm not going to come back. So we got to come up with something that's just a little more exciting, something that is repeatable, something that's going to have value for all level of player, but most importantly, something that's going to be exciting for new players to try out and something that's going to be easy for them to approach. And so, what we've done is one of the strengths that my company's had in the courses that we've built is our signage. We've been really, really good at doing signage, come up with some new concepts there. And what we wanted to do with this one is introduce a skills development component to these smaller, more compact courses. So, if we can only fit, say, 3 holes in, what's the most that we can get out of those holes? And so, what we've done is we've taken instructional content. We've got form shadows, if you're familiar with those, but basically snapshots of a video, stills that have come out of that. And so we've got demonstrations of form on there. We've got QR codes to take you to video demonstrations of it. What's really the key, though, is we've kind of reversed the design um, aspect of doing this. So, normally a player shows up to a hole and then chooses a throw based on what they see. But what we're doing is we're actually designing the hole around a throw. And so we want to start you off. Your very first hole that you're going to play is a straight shot. And so we're going to teach you a nice neutral position. We're going to give you the mechanics of how to throw a straight shot. Um, your arm position, your angle, your release, all of that kind of stuff. And then gradually, as you work your way through these holes of this course, we're going to add on more to it. We're going to teach you the hyzer. We're going to teach you the enhyzer. We're going to teach you the backhand, the forehand versions of those. Overall, what the concept really comes down to is we have a 3, 4, or 5, or 6 hole course. And so what that allows us to do is we can tailor the size of the course, the number of holes to the size of the park.
Mm-hmm.
So a 3 hole course, we can fit into something like an acre or acre and a half, depending on whether there is, enough foliage in the area or angles that we can use to fit those in. But we're trying to create a safe environment for new people to learn. So we've got to be careful about where we're aiming things, how close things are together. But ideally, this 3 hole course or up to 6 holes, you play it multiple times, and so each sign actually has more than one throw that you're going to learn. Eventually, what I wanted to do is when we took this to Scott, the idea was Fluent is a course design company. This is what we're good at. That's what I specialize in. But I'm not a coach. I don't have the skill set for teaching people how to play, at least very well. Um, what we needed to combine this concept with was legitimacy. We want to deliver something that is proven. We want, somebody that does this, for a living, essentially, to understand what we're trying to do and to want to be a part of it. And when I pitched the idea, I put it through his email. I got a response back that I had made it past the handlers, and he congratulated me on that step and wanted to hear more. So I went through the whole process with him, talked about the different aspects of what we're going to bring to the course, the length of the holes, the way that they're designed around specific shots, the progress. Originally, my original version of the course was actually. I think I started off with a hyzer because every new player that gets out there and throws their first disc just immediately throws it off away from them. So I figured that would be the most natural place to start with. But and this is one of the reasons why I wanted Scott involved was the Stokely method that he's been teaching for decades is it starts you from a neutral position, and so the more logical thing to do is to start from your neutral position and then to add angle or take angle away or add arm speed or take arm speed away or the four different mechanics that he discusses when he teaches. So Scott got really interested in the whole thing, and has been an amazing partner so far. He did all of the video that we used for creating all of the form shadows on the signage. He's going to be doing, and like I mentioned before, every sign has a QR code on it,
Mm.
and the QR code will take you to an online page specifically for the hole that you're at, and will know exactly what's on the sign that you're looking at, and so it's going to give you the ability to watch short video versions of the throws that you're about to learn. And so from there, you can get a little more detail about the mechanics and what you're doing with your footwork or otherwise. And so Scott's going to be filming all of those for us. And so this is a really good, relationship for the two of us. Scott's really excited to be out there and have a new avenue for teaching people and getting them interested. And for us, like I said, this brings some legitimacy to the delivery of this teaching. And so Scott's also, I'm sure a lot of viewers will know, he's been really behind the adaptive disc golf phenomenon, trying to get more people of varying abilities out to these courses to be able to play, making sure that they're accessible to the broadest group of people that they possibly can be. And so by the nature of these shorter courses that are going to be in relatively, not necessarily all flat, but they're going to be in more accessible parks. And just by that nature, they're going to end up being accessible disc golf courses, places where you can take somebody in a wheelchair, or places where um, uh, people of all capabilities
Hmm.
are able to go out and experience this. And so that's it's great for what Scott is wanting to get behind, and for us it's also really great because when we take that to a city and we say this is an ADA, ACA, AODA compliant recreational opportunity that you can now start to roll out to these parks that otherwise have been limited to a playground or a walkway or a garden. We can now add some more recreational content to those and finally get disc golf in front of the majority of these populations in cities. So this is, when you first saw those posts that I started to put out there, and I said we're going to change the way that people discover disc golf. I really believe that. I think that putting these signs at the course where you're going to show up and it's going to teach you about disc golf. It's going to show you how to throw. It's going to help you understand why we do what we do when we're out there on the course, and without the need for having somebody there to explain the whole thing to you. Tying in the online component to that, it just makes it even easier. Brings us into the 21st century, and I think a lot of people relate to that, be able to, pull out their phone. We don't want to keep people on the tee for too long, but a 30-second video that explains how to throw is not a big deal. So um, all of those things kind of coalesce into this really cool thing. Um, Beyond that, we have, the smallest course we're talking about is 3 holes, but we actually have a putting station as well. And so the putting station comes with its own dedicated sign, and the putting station is going to teach you a grip. It's going to teach you 2 stances, so your staggered and your straddle. And then it's going to teach you 4 different styles of putting. So you'll get your spin, your push, your turbo, and your jump putt. It's going to teach you about circle one and circle two and what the difference is there. It's it's going to go through everything that you need to know. But then the other really neat thing about the putting stations is that the at the bottom of the sign will have 3 games that you can play, and those games are games that we chose that would allow groups to cycle really quickly, right? If this is going to be near a school, then I don't want a bunch of kids that don't get it right away to be out of the game for very long. So we chose 3 games that keep everyone involved and are exciting. But you can get 30 people all playing on one basket, all playing the same game at the same time, and you can do it safely. So Now we've got, a footprint of a 60-foot diameter or a 66-foot diameter circle around one basket. And, how many parks have you seen or parkettes that have just enough space for that one basket in the corner of the park? So now, when we talk to a city and we say it's, you've got this great park here, but, we can package this for you now, and we can start to do multiple parks with one sale. So we can really start to roll out disc golf into a city really quickly now. It's not just one neighborhood at a time because these are big ticket items. Now these are affordable recreational packages that can go in. Um, they're designed to be. We provide the instructions that a Parks and Rec department would need to lay one of these out safely. One of the things that's kind of hindered the way that disc golf has been received in a lot of places is because people that don't know what they're doing have been just throwing them into a park thinking, this straight line, that looks good. Okay, how about this straight line? How about that straight line? That's not interesting. It's not something that's going to draw people back. So what we're, in this collection of up to 6 holes, we're giving a lot of variety. We're creating a lot of different scenarios. Like I said, we're going to teach you 22 different throws, and we're going to give the parks department the binder to actually lay that whole thing out safely. So um, it it eliminates the need for a designer on site, but at the same time, part of the process is going to be we'll give them the tools to map it all out, but then they're going to submit their design to us, and we're going to review it and go through the details with them and make sure that it's safe, make sure that they've thought, went through all of the things that we provide them and did it properly. So um, yeah,
Wow.
I'm hoping this accelerates. Yeah.
Like there's so much to like unpack with like all of this when I think about even where we are here in Calgary, and we're really fortunate here. There's so many courses. I bet you, and this isn't a flex or a brag, but there's probably 15 courses in a 25 to 30-minute drive for me, like roughly maybe 40-minute drive.
Yeah.
But I even, in this environment where I am, where disc golf is as popular as it is, I feel like it's a bit of a Canadian mecca where I am here. But still, like day to day, there are so many people that I'll be talking to, and they'll say, "Oh, I didn't even know it was here." Is there, and there's this like huge disconnect,
Yeah.
and I think to I've not witnessed personally, but I've experienced the challenges in city planning versus disc golf planning, and trying to finding commonality is so difficult because of the exact things that you mentioned with cities have limitations on space and courses have need for space, and when you even to when you think about these sort of small spaces, you're talking about like a course that could be somewhere between 3 and 6 holes. Are the number of um, shot types available on like the 3 hole version? Is that reducing those shots, or are you? What happens on like the shorter course versus the, and I say shorter, but the three
It
hole
does
versus
right
the
now,
six?
right?
Yeah, sure, it must.
Yeah, yeah. So what we've got right now is each tee will have 2 throws and then a scramble shot. And so we're teaching you typically the first few holes are going to be your straight shot, your hyzer, your anhyzer, and each of those you're going to learn both the forehand and the backhand. On each of those, you're also going to get a scramble shot, and the scramble is going to be something like, the very first thing we want to teach people is just to pitch out. Sometimes we just got to take our medicine, and I know so many pros that still don't know that lesson. So we're going to make sure that's on the first tee. After that, you're going to learn things like a patent pending, or you're going to learn a forehand roller or a scuba roller. You're going to learn um, pancake shot. Anyways, we're going to go through quite a number of different ways to help you, because invariably, even especially while you're learning, you're going to end up in the trees. Even if there are very few in these layouts, we still want to give you the tools to not just try and get to the pin, but also to get out of trouble once you're into it. And
Sure.
that's all part and parcel of playing the game. So right now, yeah, there's three shots on each tee, but I do have concepts in line to try to condense more of the shots onto those smaller courses. So we will try and do that. The thing I really want to make sure that we kind of adhere to is that we're not trying to put too much in front of people, not trying to do too much in too small a space. And that's, I think, one of the dangers that disc golf faces a lot of times, is trying to get too much into too small an area. And it becomes either too condensed, where either the course is too tight, and then there are safety issues, or in this case with the signage, I don't want to put too much information in front of people. And these are already, these are full signs. Um, I didn't mention this before, but we're not just showing the form shadows. We're not just showing the release angles and that kind of stuff. We're doing it for both left-hand and right-handed players.
Oh
So
wow.
these signs actually are fully ambidextrous. You're going to look at a picture that meets your actual physical scenario. You're right.
Hmm.
It's 90% of people will throw right-handed, so that's great for them. But when I'm left-handed looking at a right-handed picture, I still it doesn't quite translate as well. So we've made sure we've got both left and right-handed pictures on the same T signs, and we're making sure that every person that goes to one of these discovery zones is going to have the same experience. Right? We're not trying to hinder you just because you happen to throw with the other hand. So um, but going back, I think it's important that we give you just enough information to get you into it, and a little bit more online if you feel that you want a little bit more. But I want to try and keep things simple, right? It's the best experience is going to be something that just comes naturally, and with a little bit of instruction, but something that isn't forced by trying to give you too much.
Definitely. I mean, it's funny. A point that's sticking with me right now when you're talking about not giving people too much information, and I think about I've been hate to say this, but I've been playing for about 20 years this summer. I think it's been, and and a lot of the shots you just mentioned, like I do not throw. Even it's been the
Yeah.
last couple years that like I've like forced myself to throw a forehand. For so many like I over 15 years, like 15 years now. I did have a bad shoulder. There was a couple of other like factors at play. I threw left-handed for a year and a half when I had a shoulder surgery, so there was reasons for not getting like sort of creative with my shot types. But when I think about a course like this, as you were saying that, it makes me think. I obviously became so confident in my backhand because it was like all I was throwing, and it's funny, as I was coming into this question, I was gonna say, is it is there a fear that like there is too much information in a six-hole course where like every throw is like essentially a different shot type, or there's so much variety that it could be a bit overwhelming. But as I'm asking that question, there's a part of me too that's just thinking like you know uh, dreaming about a scenario where like I was learning to play the sport on a course like this, where I was developing like a wider range of skills, like equally going in, because I mean when I first started, I mean there wasn't even YouTube, so I just threw it like a frisbee, and I hadn't like we just had no idea what we were doing. But
Yeah.
that information, it's an interesting like dynamic when you think about the newer player in
Even
that way.
Yeah, even with YouTube, you still need to know what those shots are called. And how's somebody new showing up at the course going to know to look up an Anheuser? So it's one is just a little bit of education. So you start to get to know the names of the shots. You start to understand that we throw with both forehand and backhand on a lot of them. You get into overhand shots, or you get into flex, and understanding just what those mean. Even if you can't throw them with the one disc that you start playing with, it's still the concept of understanding how how much the game has to offer. Um, what what it can offer to new players that it's you look at golf and it's you can put a draw or a fade on your ball, but that's about it, right? We're doing is we're changing the angle and distance and drawing or fading. But when you start throwing multi-angle shots in disc golf, like what an amazing feeling to throw your first flex shot. Um, and then when you start to break it down and really, it sounds intimidating throwing a shot that's going to change directions, but then, when the sign says it's basically just an anhyzer with an overstable disc, just letting it fade out at the end, it starts to put some of these throws a little more within people's confidence zone when they are learning. If they're at one of these courses, it's going to be because they want to learn or practice, right? It is a skills development course out there. You get a 3 or 4 year old, he's not going to be reading the sign, but his parents are going to be coaching him on or her on how to hold the disc and what to do with it. So they're going to be out there just enjoying themselves. But overall, these, like you said, even as an intermediate level player, I can show up to the course and learn a couple more shots that I didn't really have in my bag before. And um, you know, a lot of it also comes to if I play the same 2 or 3 courses all the time, and I very rarely get out to other courses, then I may not be presented with the types of holes or may not know that I could throw something like an anhyzer on a hole that I've been throwing a forehand on and ending up in the woods a little bit too early.
For
Um,
sure.
you
I
know,
mean, how many times are we on a course when, you go, I throw this disc and it parks pretty much, like when
yeah,
we've got the courses that are our closest or our, I'm fortunate in a situation where there's a lot of courses around me, but most people have like a few local courses that they can get to, and you've got your go-to disc with your go-to shot shape. It works, and you're going to be within 2-3 strokes of, so I think that Discovery Zone is what it's called.
yep,
It's
disc
a
golf discovery zone.
fantastic name, and I think about when you're talking about the shot shaping and that. I uh, I bet you 9 times out of 10 I am explaining disc golf to a golfer with that almost the exact analogy you used about that if this hole has a dog leg to the right, a golf hole. I might be able to slice that ball, but I also don't really know where that ball's going in my world. And on a flat release, I can either find a disc that's understable to make that turnover shot, to make that dog leg right play, um, you know, or or I can adjust my angle. Like there's ways that I can manipulate a disc to play a fairway, and when you start to truly like witness the flight of a disc when you did what you were trying to do. I mean that's what everyone's there for, right? We just when you get that
Yeah,
amazing shot off, when you were talking too about going to a course and it's like, oh, this is a straight area here and we can I just played Toronto Island a couple weekends ago, and we'll have a mic'd up round. I'm not sure if it'll be out before this or not, but we played the championship layout, and I feel like almost every single hole in that course is like 3, 4, 500 straight down a fairway, and then it veers like a little bit at the ends, um,
right.
and and it was just like hole after hole, and it was, I mean, it's a beautiful course in a beautiful setting, but when you're on a course like that, you're going, man, I could go for a little bit more shot variety, even though it was like, it's a beautiful environment. But to go to a course like this, I know I could stand to benefit so much from this kind of experience. And one thing that we haven't gotten to yet, but we did mention in a previous conversation, was this idea of um, like if these courses set up like sort of in a similar way, then there's the potential for, playing. I've got friends in Toronto. I live in Calgary, and we could theoretically almost have like similar experiences, and I could score my round, and when they play theirs, we can actually kind of communicate and compare those rounds. And I would guess that I don't know what the percentage is, but I would think most disc golfers, don't have that full array of shots in their arsenal.
That's right. Yeah, it will have that kind of unique aspect to it. Obviously, if there are different numbers of holes, that'll change things a little bit, but it's essentially these will pretty much be laid out the same regardless of where they're going to be. There are going to be different trees, or there are going to be different you know ways that they move themselves around a park. But overall, it's going to be a 100-foot hole. It is going to be this type of shot in this order, um, and and that's what you're going to get. So when two people play in two different parts of the country, and have their cell phone on, or something, or eventually maybe a companion app, and be able to score around, and play around together. And it's the traditional game of disc golf doesn't force you to play shots on any. There's no rule in any way that says that you have to shoot a certain way.
Sure,
But
absolutely.
this is going to be a slightly different experience in that respect, where the purpose of the hole, sure, you can throw anything you want on it, but the purpose of this hole is to teach you this shot. And so this this flight line is what the hole is laid out for. So um, you know you can try different things, right? The fun of disc golf is trying all these different kinds of things out and seeing what works for you, and hopefully continuing to grow your bag as you do go through it.
So many questions, but when can we expect to start seeing these courses? Do you have a? Is there a timeline? Do you
As
have
a
projects
matter of
in mind?
fact, yeah, so this actually was born out of a project that I got late last year. The town of Stillville approached me, and they showed me a small property that they had, that they didn't have a lot of options, and so this property was what they finally decided on. And it only had about 4 acres of usable space. There's a playground there. There's walking paths around it. So it was a really difficult piece of land to look at. And but when you get lemonade, or when you get lemons, you make lemonade. So I looked at it, and decided, this that's when we first started thinking about, well, let's look at a skills development installation here. Let's see what we can do with the space, and make it work. And so we've gone through a few different iterations of the idea. Thankfully, we had actually had it staked to go in last fall, and it got wet, the early snow, I think. And so luckily, that actually delayed things a bit. And over the winter, that allowed me to really develop the concept a lot more. And that's when I took it to Scott and got him involved. And so it really, like, it has exploded over the winter into what it is now. And so we're actually planning on the install for the end of April. And so the baskets, the signage, all that will go in. And that's actually something else that's part of this project. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm the first company in Canada to be bringing in my own baskets. These are going to be Fluent Disc Sport branded baskets. They're actually going to be branded for the Discovery Zone, and these are championship approved baskets. They are a 28 chain, three individual rings, 14-7-7 kind of scenario. They're amazing. I'm I'm waiting with bated breath for them to show up right now, but they're on their way and should be here any day now.
Did you design these?
And no, these are coming from an OEM manufacturer, but they're produced in the same factory as three of the other major manufacturers. Like,
Okay.
these are coming with a 20-year warranty. They are a unique design, but they are PDGA championship approved. So they we say it a lot, practice what you play. And so I want to make sure that what these people are learning on is going to be a good basket that is representative of kind of where the sport is today and where we're going. There's still tons of Mach 3s and stuff out there. Old disc catchers.
Mhm.
I love them. There are some great old courses out there, but these are um, this is what they're going to see when they go on YouTube and see the pro tour. This is what's going to get them excited. So we wanted the the best for our players. So that's what we're bringing in. But they're fully branded with the Discovery Zone um, kind of
Mm-hmm.
banner on there. They've got a QR code so that when people are walking around a park and see that disc golf basket, I don't know how many times you see people, stop and ask, "What are you doing? What
Mm-hmm.
what is that?" When they see one of these baskets, there's a QR code right there. It takes them right to the disc golf discovery zone, and that's on the basket, and that's printed right on there. Um, so yeah, so the first course will be going into Stouffville, and more details will be coming shortly about what that will look like, and potentially some other expansions there. But I've already been in talks with locations down in the States, other locations in Canada, and um, this is also, it's aimed directly at cities, but the best thing about this is it really can go in any kind of scenario, right? This would be an excellent thing for a school to get. Small footprint, great recreational activity, lots to learn from it. Um, Looking at programs like Edge or some of the other stuff educationally that's gone out of there's some great possibility to tie in education that way. But it also works equally well for private landowners, people that are actually looking at installing bigger courses, but want something for everyone. If you're looking at doing a championship or tournament sized course, then having something that's a little more accessible to the average player or to the new player on the same spot, or even just a place for everyone to warm up on a few holes, getting ready for the big round. You know, a discovery zone is a great bolt-on for larger projects. So we're actually looking at these in a number of scenarios already. But when we look at a city that is looking at a budget of a couple $100,000 to put a playground into one park versus being able to put 10 of these into 10 different parks at the same cost, then um, this is this has the potential to really grow grow quickly. Being able to do those multiple course projects with an individual city means that we've got one client, but we've got a few jobs in that one spot. So economies of scale work really well in those scenarios. It it helps the cities in the end, because at the end of the day, um, particularly in Canada where we have fewer courses, but when you get a city that is looking at um, their recreational, maintenance and budgets for new opportunities, year after year, their Parks and Rec budget, what this is going to do is it's going to inspire people to get into the sport in the first place. And what that's going to do is increase demand for actual disc golf courses.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those courses may still end up on the outskirts, but those courses are economical, right? Disc golf is an economical sport when the city's comparing it to other potential things. And then, when you're building different types of courses, you start to get into some of the bigger courses, and then you actually have an ROI on that investment in the sport, right? You start to get tournaments, you start to get user fees, you start to get economic impact in the region because of tournaments bringing people in. So it's the discovery zone is the first step in building up a groundswell of interest, and then funneling that interest into the Parks and Rec budget and getting them to build more traditional courses at the same time. So it's this is just the beginning.
Wow, it sounds incredible. I'm keen to hopefully get out to Stouffville and explore the experience. You mentioned an app, and like, do you see this living? What's the word? Like co-residing in UDisc and in this other app, where there's more of an educational element to the app, or Obviously, you mentioned a lot of it's going to happen like through the signage.
Yeah.
You know, what does that look like?
Right now, our first goal is to leverage the social aspect of it. You know, it's not just going to be about showing up to the course and learning disc golf, but also sharing your experience. So the first thing that I want to be able to do is leverage the people that are on the course promoting what they're doing, you know, using their own social media to share their experience on the course, right? When you get your first birdie on one of these, right? Share that experience. So that's the stuff that we're going to be focused on right now. But longer term, looking at you know, either a with UDisc, it's going to be, you know, like their fun rounds or their casual rounds that they've started to introduce to the app. I think this will be potentially a slightly different type of course that they might list on there. It is going to be different enough, and it is, you know, it would be beneficial to both to have some additional or different information along with that. So I do see the potential there, though. As far as a companion app, I think that um, when it comes time for that is going to be geared towards again the social side of things, but you know, bringing people together. There could be leagues that do this kind of thing, you know, in a specialized way. Um, you know, there lots of different options that way. So we're, you know, we don't want to get overwhelmed too quickly. First thing we got to do
Absolutely.
is make sure, you know, right? It's because, you know, we're launching tomorrow, like you said, and you know, this is still it's a big sale, you know, in one way.
Hmm.
So it's not going to be like I expect, you know, 100 sales to come in tomorrow, but as this starts to gain traction and cities see the benefit of this, you know, low cost economical way to really adopt disc golf in a meaningful way, I think that the sales could grow pretty quickly, and being able to manage that growth so that, you know, the company benefits from it and isn't hindered by that. You know, that's something I really want to focus on, is making sure that we grow responsibly, that we're capable of, you know, it's, my company's always been about the idea of, you know, paying a living wage, or
Hmm.
respecting everyone that's part of the process of delivering a course, because it's not just a designer, it's not just um, you know, it's not one person. When we deliver a course, it is, you know, the guy that keeps the machinery running. It's the person that does the finances. It's the person that helps us market it. It's the salespeople, right? We're all part of a team that does this. So making sure that everyone in the company is going to benefit from this, um, and that we can keep up with it is a number one goal for the company. But
Will there be like a recommended or like an ideal disc to take on this experience using? I know myself as a disc golfer that, you know, I've got my sort of my fairly neutral flying putter, which obviously would likely be where you're going to go with this answer. But is there will there be, you know, something like Scott's doing his own disc line now, is he not?
he is doing his own line. So and so as it happens, yeah, it's not something that we're delivering right off the bat with our
Sure.
launch, but definitely we will be doing branded discs so that we can uh, deliver those with these packages, for a few different reasons. One, you know, if there's a library nearby and they want to be able to send out loaners for people to try it out before they buy, then we want to be able to send those out there. And like you said, you know, a relatively neutral type putter, or one with, you know, just a slight overstable finish will allow people to do that flex shot or such. But you know, the course does introduce some overhand throws, so you know, moving into something that's capable of a thumber or a tomahawk, so that you can learn those throws with the disc that actually does that. Um, um, you know, it will encourage people to try more than just one disc. Um, that said, you can come out and you can play, you know, for all intents, most of the game with just one disc. So I think that Scott's putter is honestly, based on the way that it's been performing, I think that it's a really ideal candidate for that one disc, and it just makes sense with Scott involved in the project the way that he is that we would probably go with that one.
The way this project shapes up, I can't help but like envision like the disc golf disc vending machine on the first tee. That's 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 what I want to see. I want to, because when I use
Yeah,
my QR code, I want to be able to go there and go, okay, how do I? I'm here. Let's do this. And it's like,
yeah,
oh
that's
my
it.
gosh, there's this vending machine right here. Look at this. I just have to tap on the machine, and I get my putter or my three disc set or whatever. That's I need an all
Yeah,
weather proof. Yeah, that's
that's right.
that's what's next.
Yeah, people love deck buildings, right? Building your bag for the first time and throwing a couple new discs in there and seeing how they fly differently than what you already had. Like what a great experience. So,
For sure.
yeah, it's right. The website will give us a lot of the flexibility that we'll need to kind of roll with the ideas like that, right? Be able to tie people into suppliers and get discs. We're building courses,
For
so
sure.
that's what we're focused on. But I want to make it as easy a process as possible for people to really find their addiction. So
It's really fun to think about. Like again, as I said, even as someone that's been playing for 20 years, I would stand to benefit so much from so many of those shot types. And I think about going there and thinking like, it would just be a bit of a hilarious round, going like, I've never even thrown this shot before, and to be able to open up skill sets in people that some people don't even know that they've got a really good thumber or whatever the like shot type that they
yeah,
could be using more to be more successful. And it sounds amazing. I really
yeah. Being able to actually take that shot, like a lot of us will do field work, but when you go out and do it in a field and it's not really a simulation of why you would use that throw, then it's hard to really understand whether you're improving, whether your accuracy is getting better, whether your finesse of the shot is changing things, right? Those little minor differences that we make in our throw. I really feel like even for the advanced player who knows what they're doing, finding one of these, a lot of them are approach length shots, but you can still learn that finesse, right? Approach is a really important part of the game, and dialing that in for most players, I think, and in those scenarios where it's not just a hyzer, it's not just an anhyzer, it is it's a thumber, or it's a pancake, or it's a roller. This is going to give you a lot more confidence in going after that approach and going for the bird instead of the par, in a lot of cases when you get back out on traditional courses.
the finesse is so big. Like, I was just playing a course in Toronto a couple weeks ago as well, the beaches course, and it's 150 to 200 feet every hole. And
Yep.
to have to like take something off your shot, you there's not enough sort of some people like love their bomber courses like where they can just air out huge drives and that, but I think there's so much gained, because even if you're standing on the tee, that approach shot happens on every hole regardless of the length of that hole. You're going to
Yep.
inevitably have to approach the basket. And
So
it just sounds amazing. So
yeah.
I want to say a huge thank you for coming on and sharing as much as you did here. Really, really excited. And obviously, local being a Canadian disc golf brand, I'm pretty excited and proud of the fact that that this Discovery Zone was founded, in Canada, in Ontario, actually, and like just
Yep.
down the road from where I actually started playing the sport.
Yep.
And so very, very cool to see like what comes of this, and I really hope to uh, either get to Stouffville or maybe even see some of these courses and this experience. In Western Canada, I think
Yeah.
it's got some amazing, amazing potential to do what we all want, and that's grow the sport. So, uh,
Yep.
Thank you
Well, and I
so
also want
much.
to thank you. I love the opportunity. I love the fact that the first interview that I'm able to do for the Discovery Zone is a Canadian one. So thank you, Ryan, and the local. I love the opportunity. It's been a great experience, and I do want to get out there and get some of these installed out west.
Awesome. Well, if you have any
Yeah,
questions, obviously leave comments down below, and being in touch with him, I'll be able to maybe try to get some answers to those. But we will all be watching this project like very closely going forward, and really excited to see where it goes. And if I can get to Stouffville this summer, you'll be getting a call from me, and we'll maybe we can try to cross paths and get down there and
love
either
it.
throw around or film something down there because I can't wait to get there and try it out. I think it's going to be amazing.
That sounds excellent. I look forward to it.
And if people are looking for more information beyond, I mean, I think we covered all of it. But if anyone
Yep.
wants more information,
Yep.
shout out
There's
your website, your socials. Let people know where they can get more information.
Yep. So the Fluent design is going to be at fluentdisc.com. And the discgolfdiscovery.com is going to be the home of the Discovery Zone content, all the throws and all that kind of stuff. More information about the concept for cities. That site's not there yet. It's just it's waiting for us to fill in all of the gaps, but that's well underway at this point. You can find us on Facebook, Fluent Disc Sport, Instagram, and but I'm always available. I've got a live chat always in the bottom corner of the fluentdisc.com website, and I am speaking with people all over the world. I love it. So drop me a line on there.
Oh, that's amazing. It sounds great. And if and as those sites become available or more options become available to communicate with you,
Yeah,
we will leave those down in the description as well. And yeah, once again, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what comes out of it.
awesome. See you out on the course.
Thanks so much. This is local. We are local.